Have you ever been in a casual conversation when someone suddenly starts sharing deeply personal, traumatic experiences that leave you feeling overwhelmed and unsure how to respond? Or maybe you've found yourself doing the sharing, unloading your painful experiences onto others without really thinking about the impact. This is called trauma dumping, and it's more common than you might think. I'm Mike Stazak, licensed mental health counselor here at the Center, a Place of Hope. Today, we're going to explore what trauma dumping really is, why it happens, and most importantly, how to handle it in healthy ways, whether you're on the receiving end or you find yourself doing it. By the end of the video, you'll have practical tools to navigate these challenging situations while maintaining healthy boundaries. Let's start by understanding what trauma dumping actually looks like. There are three key characteristics that distinguish trauma dumping from healthy sharing. First, lack of consent. This happens when someone shares intense, traumatic content without checking if the listener is prepared or willing to handle that level of emotional intensity. The person receiving the information hasn't given permission to take on this emotional burden. Second, disproportionate sharing. This involves sharing highly personal and distressing details without considering the context or the impact on the listener. Think about sharing graphic details of a traumatic experience during a casual coffee chat with an acquaintance. Third, a repeating pattern. Trauma dumping becomes problematic when it's not a one-time occurrence, but a persistent pattern where someone repeatedly unloads their emotional burdens onto others without reciprocating support or seeking professional help. It's crucial to understand that experiencing trauma is valid and needing support is completely normal. The issue isn't the trauma itself, it's how and when we share it with others. Understanding why people trauma dump helps us respond with both compassion and appropriate boundaries. There are several common reasons. Lack of coping skills. When trauma feels overwhelming, some people haven't developed healthy ways to process their emotions. Sharing, even inappropriately, might be their only attempt to make sense of what happened to them. Isolation and loneliness. Trauma can be incredibly isolating. Sometimes trauma dumping is a desperate attempt to connect with others and feel less alone, even if it's done in an unhealthy way. Need for validation. Trauma often leaves people doubting themselves and their experiences. They might share their story seeking acknowledgement that their pain is real and valid. Avoidance of professional help. Some people turn to friends and acquaintances because seeking professional support feels too intimidating, expensive, or stigmatizing. Difficulty regulating emotions. Trauma can disrupt our ability to manage intense feelings. For some, trauma dumping becomes the only way they know to release these overwhelming emotions. Research has even shown this phenomenon extending to social media platforms like TikTok, where people share traumatic experiences with strangers online. Remember, trauma dumping isn't a sustainable way to cope, and it can strain your relationships. But understanding the why helps us approach these situations with empathy. Now let's talk about what to do when someone is trauma dumping on you. Setting boundaries isn't mean. It's necessary for both of your well-being. First, establish information sharing limits. You can set boundaries around the type of content you're comfortable hearing. It's okay to say, I care about you, but I'm not comfortable hearing graphic details. Can we talk about how you're feeling instead? Second, recognize your own emotional capacity. Be honest about what level of emotional intensity you can handle. You might say, I want to support you, but I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Can we continue this conversation another time when I feel better equipped to listen? Third, set contextual boundaries. Some settings just aren't appropriate for trauma discussions. A work meeting or a casual social gathering might not be the right time or place. Here are some practical responses you can use. Gently suggest professional support. This sounds really difficult. Have you considered talking to a counselor who specializes in this? Express your feelings honestly. I care about you, but this conversation is bringing up some difficult feelings for me, too. Acknowledge without taking on their burden. That sounds incredibly painful, without trying to fix or solve their problems. You could offer resources, share information about support groups, helplines, or crisis services. Remember, you are not responsible for fixing someone else's trauma. Your role is to be supportive within your capacity, not their therapist. Self-awareness is the first step towards change. Here are some signs you might be trauma dumping. You consistently share intense details without considering the listener's comfort. You dominate conversations with your traumatic experiences. There's no reciprocity. You share, but you don't ask about others. You ignore social cues showing the listener is uncomfortable. You rely heavily on others for emotional support without seeking professional help. If you recognize these patterns in yourself, here's what you can do. Work on developing self-awareness. Before sharing, pause and ask yourself, is this really the right person, time, and place for this conversation? Am I considering their emotional capacity? Consider professional help. A trained therapist can provide the specialized support trauma requires. They have tools and training that friends and family simply don't possess. Practice healthy coping mechanisms. Explore alternatives like journaling, art therapy, exercise, or mindfulness practices to process emotions between sessions. Ask for consent. Simple phrases like, I'm going through something difficult. Would you be okay if I share what's happening? That can make a huge difference. Seek feedback. If you feel comfortable, ask trusted friends about your communication style. They might provide valuable insights about how your sharing affects them. Here's what I want you to remember. Trauma is real, and seeking support is not only normal, it's necessary. But there's a difference between healthy sharing and trauma dumping. Healthy sharing involves consent, appropriate context, and reciprocity. It considers both the sharer's needs and the listener's capacity. Professional support is irreplaceable. While friends and family can offer valuable support, trauma often requires specialized treatment that only trained professionals can provide. At the center, a place of hope, we use our whole person care approach to address trauma from every angle: emotional, physical, spiritual, relational, and intellectual. We understand that healing happens when all aspects of your life are considered and integrated. If you're struggling with trauma, whether you're oversharing or keeping everything inside, please reach out for professional help. You deserve support that's both effective and appropriate. Take action today if this resonates with you. Check out our trauma assessment on our website. The link is in the description. And remember, asking for help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and remember, healing is possible when you have the right support.